One and all, Israelite Prepper here. I was looking at an article actually in the New York Times, and it was talking about global warming and stuff like that. And one of the things that really got me thinking was let's see, trying to get it here. All of a sudden, everything went blank. I was looking at this article. I was talking about global warming. So let me pull it back up here. Shalom, shalom, brother Ronnie Rainier. I'm trying to pull up this article. There it is. Shalom, shalom, Frank Stockton. It was a slow Monday. Slow, just went away. As soon as I went live, it just went away. But anyway, with me a little bit. Kind of a long article, but I was looking at it and it's talking about global warming and food shortages and all this stuff affects us, as trying to be, preppers and stuff like that. Yeah, go do some work. I've been working. Uh, I've been working. It's been very busy. So anyway, I'm gonna get through a little bit of it. Try to give you some of the excerpts from it, but it's from the New York Times. It says the world's land and water resources are being exploited at the unprecedented rates. A new United Nations report warns itself. The report, prepared by more than 100 experts from 52 countries and released in summary form in Geneva on Thursday, found that the window to address the threat is closing rapidly. A half a billion people already live in places turning into desert, and the soil is being lost between 10 and 100 times faster than it is forming, according to the report. Climate change will make those threats even worse as floods, drought, storms, and other types of extreme weather threaten to disrupt and over time shrink the global food supply. So this is what's very important to us as being preppers and homesteaders. Already, more than 10% of the world's populations remained undernourished, and some authors of the report warned in interviews that food shortages could lead to an increase in cross-border migration. Hey guys, give me a 100 if you guys can hear me okay, if the volume is okay. Just give me a 100 if it's okay or if it's muffled or something. All right, it says awesome, awesome. A particular danger is that food crisis could develop on several continents at once, with Cynthia Rosenwig, a senior research scientist at the NASA. Oh, what's going on with the camera? Is it too low or? Okay, it's probably moving around a little bit, a little jumpy. Is that better? Let's see. Cross-border migration. A particular danger is that food crisis could develop on several continents at once, said Cynthia Rosenwig, a senior research scientist at the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies and one of the lead authors of the report. Quote, the potential risk of multi breadbasket failure is increasing. Okay, she said all of these things are happening at once. That's what she mean by multi breadbasket. So all the storms and the crops failures and things like that, everything is starting to have pathway to addressing the looming food crisis, though they well as consumer behavior. Proposals include increasing the productivity of land, wasting less food, and persuading more people to shift their diets away from cattle and other types of meat. Quote, one of the important findings of our work is that there are a lot of actions that we can take now. They're invention, financial support, and enabling environments. So they're really trying to get into it. They're really talking about, hey, listen, we're about to run out of food and we need to do something about it real quick is basically, what they're saying. And some of these signs they really want, is getting to the point that we're not going to be able to produce food. And when people, especially in the areas where they are, if food starts to become scarce, what do people naturally do? They move, they start to migrate, right? And then you don't want desperation to set in because that's when you have marauders. So, really important. It says the summary was released Thursday by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, an international group of scientists convened by the United Nations that pulls together a wide range of existing research to help governments understand climate change and make policy decisions. The IPCC is writing a series of climate reports, including one last year on the disastrous consequences if the planet's temperature rises Celsius above its pre-industrial levels, as well as an upcoming report on the state of the world's oceans. Okay, so if it just changes 1.5 degrees Celsius, right? They're talking about disastrous effects. So obviously, my first concern, is the food shortages and things like that, and desperation, and having being prepared yourself and having your family prepared, right? So I don't get into the whole, yeah, greenhouse, exactly, greenhouse effect. That's what's going to happen. So I'm not going to get into the debate of global warming. It's not really global warming. It's just it's God coming back or what. I'm not getting into all of that, but I am getting into the effect. If it's true, regardless of the source, the effect is starting to happen. We're starting to see it happen. Okay, so it says some authors also suggest that food shortages are likely to affect poorer parts of the world far more than the richer ones. That could Shalom is that is already redefining politics in North America, Europe, and other parts of the world. Immigration, okay, resources, okay, things. When food gets scarce, they're gonna force their way to where food is, guys. See, you're not gonna stop someone from trying to eat. People's lives will be affected by massive pressure for migration, said Pete Smith, a professor of plant and soil science at the University of Aberdeen and one of the report's lead authors. He said, "People." This is his quote. He said, "People don't stay and die where they are. People migrate." Between 2010 and 2015, the number of migrants from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras showing up at the United States border with Mexico increased fivefold, coinciding with a dry period that left many with not enough food and was so unusual that scientists suggest it bears the signal of climate change. Okay, so a lot of people came knocking on America's door from the southern side, but they didn't talk about some of the reasons why, right? So places turning into deserts, okay? Places turning into deserts. That's the problem. Bearing action on a sweeping scale, the report said climate change will accelerate the danger of severe food shortages as a warming atmosphere intensifies the world's droughts, flooding, heat waves, wildfires, and other weather patterns. It is speeding up the rate of soil loss and land degradation, the report concludes. All the things that are starting to happen, all the things that you guys are starting to see happening right now. Like you said, it says droughts, floodings, heat waves, wildfires, all these weird weather patterns, all these things are starting to happen, right? So this has nothing to do with fear mongering, or this is stuff that's happening right now. It may not be in your neighborhood, it may not be in your backyard, but you can't deny the fact that it's happening. You can't hide your head in the sand and say it's not happening. It is happening. They're telling you it's happening. You see the people who are running from one place to another. It is exactly. It is facts. It's happening. Just because it's not happening right in front of your face, it is happening right in front of your screen. It's flooding, droughts, wildfire, all that coming to a neighborhood near you. Okay, parts of Australia is burning right now. Absolutely, man. All you have to do, open our eyes and say, we have to somehow insulate ourselves from some of this, right? I think I'm gonna try to do a live stream and talk about um, probably talk about like some of the some of the seals and trumpets and bowl judgments and things like that. And prayer and preparing ourselves because these things are starting to come, right? They're starting to show up. A high concentrations of carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere. Greenhouse gas, Brother Stockton said that greenhouse gas put there mainly by the burning of fossil fuels will also reduce food's nutritional quality, even as rising temperatures cut crop yields and harm livestock. Those changes threaten to exceed the ability of the agriculture industry to adapt. In some cases, the report says a changing climate is boosting food production because, for example, warmer temperatures will mean greater yield. Climate change is already hurting the availability of food because of decreased yields and lost land from erosion. Okay, desertification and rising seas. Okay, among other things. So I'm gonna try to wrap this up because it is a lot. Okay, it is a lot. Overall, if emissions of greenhouse gas continue to rise, so will food costs, according to a report affecting people around the world. Exactly. When food cost goes up, it's going to affect all of us, okay? I mean, all the more reasons to try your best to grow your own food. In some cases, if your soil begin to go bad or whatever, you may have to do it artificially. You may have to go to greenhouses. You may have to go to hydroponics and things like that, to continue to eat. So those are some things you got to at least consider. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but you may want to consider it though. In addition, the researchers said even a climate change makes agriculture more difficult. Agriculture itself is also exacerbating climate change. Exactly, exactly. The report says that activities such as draining wetlands and has happened in Indonesia and Malaysia to create palm oil plantations, for example, is particularly damaging. When drained, peatlands, which store between 530 and 6 carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is a major greenhouse gas, trapping the sun's heat and warming the planet. Every 2.5 acres of peatland release the carbon dioxide equivalent of burning 6,000 gallons of gasoline. So that talks about carbon dioxide. I'm going to skip down a little bit more. Let's see what else we're talking about. Similarly, cattle are significant producers of methane, another powerful greenhouse gas, and an increase in global demand for beef and other meats has fueled their numbers and increased deforestation of critical forest systems like the Amazon. It's getting ugly. It's getting ugly out there. So this talks about methane, okay, being a problem. See where else we're going here. Of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere by about 9 gigatons each year, according to Pamela McElwee, a professor of human ecology at Rutgers University and one of the report's lead authors. But it would also increase food prices as much as 80% by 2050. Quote, we cannot plant trees to get ourselves out of the problem that we're in, Dr. McElwee said. The trade offs that would keep us below 1.5 degrees, we're not talking about them. We're not ready to confront them yet. Okay? Preventing the global temperature from rising more than 1.5 degrees Celsius is likely to require planting of trees as well as substantial bioenergy to help reduce the use of fossil fuels. Okay, so they want to stop that. And if temperatures increase more than that, the pressure on food production will increase as well, creating a vicious cycle. Okay, so I'm going to stop. Let's see here. Slowly going to the movie Mad Max. Yeah, it's getting, in those movies, you see how it gets all desert like and everything, and people got to go for miles and miles to get water and get food and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's definitely becoming more and more like that. Let's see what else it said here. I can finish this. Above 2 degrees of global warming, there could be an increase of 100 million or more of the population at risk of hunger. Okay, Edward Davin, a researcher at Zurich and author of the report, said by mail, we need to act quickly. The report also calls for institutional changes, including the first time the IPCC cited indigenous people and their knowledge of land stewardship as resources to be tapped. Yeah, who'd have thought farmers know how to do that? Agricultural practices that include indigenous and local knowledge can contribute to overcoming the combined challenges of climate change, food security, biodiversity conservation, and combating desertification and land degradation. The report is getting a little bit crazy out there. Let me just straighten it out. Getting real crazy out there. It's going to come down to what you're going to do, right? All we can do is two things. Give you an example. That's what, like my brother Chris, brother David, what we're trying to do. I'm not out there yet, but I'm about to get out there. We can we can do by example, do something about it, coming out and learn our best to be self-sufficient, and or two, give you the information, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm showing information, get us thinking, get our minds in the right direction so that our bodies can go in the right direction. So let's just focus on those type of things. I'm just bringing that information out, informing. I don't care about fear mongering or whatever. If you're not, if self preservation isn't motivating, gonna, that's not gonna work. Okay, that's not gonna amount to a hill of beans. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay, for those who are out there trying to get prepared, trying to come out of her, my people, do that. Do what you have to do. Make the sacrifices. Sacrifice convenience. Sacrifice comfort. Sacrifice comfort. Sacrifice the things that you need to sacrifice. Okay, be prepared, and you want to come out because you don't want to be around unprepared people. People who get desperate and then they want to unalive you. So you don't want to be around these people, okay? Oh well, I got guns and I got firearms. You don't have unlimited bullets, okay? So it's just a desperate situation. You want to go where there's not that many people, so that if you did have to protect yourself, you do have enough ammo. Okay, you can have 20,000 of bullets before you run out of desperate people. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay, so the best thing to do is be self sufficient. Get away from people. Okay, become a gray man, and be self sufficient. Be self sufficient. You gotta learn. You gotta learn to do stuff like that. Be self sufficient. It's not. It's nothing to brag about. Um, if it comes down to it, to yourself. That's not. I understand. I do what I would have to do, but it's not something I'm waiting on. Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to do. Come on. We gotta be smart about it. We're trying to. You're trying to build your own little arc. You know, a little place of safety for when things go awry. So just wanted to drop that in there on you guys, give you some information. I'll be back with more. It'll probably be at random time for Shabbat. Get that going for